So for today's video, we're not doing any accessory reviews, no, phone reviews 2 weeks later, none of that stuff. We're just gonna have a discussion. Now, I don't want this to come off, ranty or anything like that, but we gotta talk about app optimization. There still seems to be quite a bit of kind of weird hot takes talking about how, certain things, a certain manufacturer's fault and all of that. And again, it's just a lot of miscommunication and a lot of misinformation. Y'all know me, when I start to hear too much of that stuff, we gotta take it to the lab, we gotta do a video. Education is key, G.I. Joe, knowledge is power. So let's go ahead and get into it. Today, we're gonna go ahead and talk app optimizations on tablets and foldables. All right, so I want to preface this video by saying I'm not making this because I'm biased towards Pixel or because it's Google or anything crazy like that, man. I'm always going to be in the camp that I want everything to work as best as it possibly can, regardless of what device I'm using from what manufacturer. It doesn't matter what phone or what form factor you're using, apps should just be optimized and should just work, period. That's kind of always going to be my argument and my MO. I don't care whether it's Samsung, Xiaomi, Oppo, Google, Sony, whoever. It should just work perfectly fine. So that, like I said, I kind of got to preface it. I buy everything. I bought every Z Fold. I bought some import foldable. I have the Pixel Fold. Like I said, I'm not here for the bias. So don't hit my comments with that nonsense. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about it. So I'm going to switch over to the top down cam so that way we can talk about it. So looking here, this is kind of what I want to talk about. So the bezels, or not the bezels, but the letter boxing on the right and left, I put these in light mode, so it's a little bit easier for y'all to see what I'm talking about. Obviously with dark mode, it kind of blends into the sides a bit, but I personally don't use the native X Twitter app, just like as like a quick little side tangent. I actually use a different one called Arrow, either Arrow Twitter or Arrow Witter, whatever it's called. Here's the name here, Arrow Witter is what it looks like there, but this is the one that I use. As you can see, it's obviously stretched out, which either way doesn't fix the issue, but we're gonna go ahead and keep it pushing. Back to my point. So first and foremost, why does this happen? So the reason that this happens is because Android app developers, for reasons, I'll kind of say, for reasons, don't update or optimize fully their applications for, certain devices or whatever the case may be. Now, the Z Fold is a different aspect ratio or orientated device than the Pixel Fold. The Pixel Fold is more of your traditional horizontal interface when it comes to a foldable, where the Z Fold is more of like your portrait. So think of it as like your slab, but bigger is the best way to kind of explain it. And you can kind of even see, if I twist the device in this orientation, you get a layout that is far closer to what the Z Fold has. You still obviously got your bezels from the Pixel Fold, but it's pretty much identical in that sense. So if you rotate the device, which don't give me any crap about rotating devices, if I go play a YouTube video on the Z Fold, I'm gonna rotate the device to get the best viewing experience. So I don't want to hear anything about rotating. Don't hit me in the comments with that nonsense either. We've been rotating phones since cover flow was the thing on the original iPhone. Rotating your Pixel Fold, if you're only running Twitter, it isn't gonna kill you. So it is what it is. And no, you don't have to rotate it. You choose to if you want the best viewing experience. Same way you don't have to rotate, YouTube or any video content on the Z Fold. You do if you want the best viewing experience. So let's go ahead and continue on. So again, it happens because app developers haven't optimized their apps to take full advantage of the beautiful tablet displays that we get on our foldables. Now, you will see that some manufacturers like Samsung, they'll actually stretch the application. So the application is stretched, and don't get me wrong, this looks far better and cleaner than this because you don't have the black bars. It's stretched out. That looks good in the sense that it fills the screen. But as you can see, you got a ton of wasted space on both sides of the application, which in my opinion is still not acceptable. Twitter or X, whatever y'all are going by these days, just get y'all crap together is kind of how I see it. But anyway, so again, this happens. Developers don't optimize their apps, whatever. Now, that's why it happens. As far as developers fixing the issue, I'm not going to sit here and backseat dev. I don't know what that takes. I don't know if it's something that, you know, is a few line of codes, if they have to go out and really re-optimize their apps or redo their apps or whatever. I honestly don't know what all it kind of entails. From what I've understood and what I've heard, they need to just kind of go and add a few lines of code if they want it to scale properly. If they want to like then go in and add extra functionality, like a good example of that, I'll flash it here on the screen. Shout out to Ben over at Ben's Gadget Reviews. He has the Honor Magic V2, which has a really dope feature where you can see Honor did a little bit of extra work and Twitter actually split. So on the left side, you have your timeline. On the right side of the display, you have like an extra column for like if you click on a post or something like that, it shows the contents of that post and the comments on the right side. I really like that. I would love for all social media developers to take advantage of that. That looks really, really, really clean. So shout out again to Ben's Gadget Reviews for that. Now, like I said, I don't know what they can do to fix it, if it's easy, if it's hard, whatever. I just know that they need to get it done. Now, let's get into Google specifically, because a lot of people are saying, well, Google just needs to fix this. Google just needs to fix this, which the fix would essentially be, you know, Google doing this, which is just stretching out the screen itself. Now, I want to talk a little bit about why that isn't necessarily the best play. Now, let me preface this with third-party manufacturers. If any of y'all by any chance happen to see this video in the future or whatever, I'm fine with y'all stretching y'all applications, and I'll kind of talk about that here in a second. So third-party app developer, or not third-party app developers, third-party OEMs and manufacturers, so Samsung, Xiaomi, Sony, all of y'all, I'm cool with that. Stretch out your applications. And the reason I say that is because Samsung doesn't care what apps look like on Google's Pixel. Samsung doesn't care what apps look like on a Sony Xperia Mark V or whatever number that they're on. Xiaomi doesn't care how apps look on Samsung devices. The only devices that they're responsible for from a software perspective are their own devices. That's it. So Samsung can say, well, hey, it looks perfectly fine on our Z Fold line of devices. Good luck, everybody else, right? They can do that, and that's okay. I'm not, you know, harping on that. They're fine with that. Google, on the other hand, is in a really interesting position. And when I say an interesting position, they created the platform of Android, or bought it, whatever y'all want to get into with the whole technicality. But either way, they are in charge of Android as a whole. It's an extremely bad look for Google to just stretch apps or optimize apps for their own device and leave third-party OEMs using their software and just saying, hey, we fixed it on our Pixel devices. It looks great on our Pixel devices. Y'all better figure it out. That's honestly just not healthy, and it's not a good look, in my opinion. Google has far more to gain by getting app developers to just do the extra work to optimize their applications, because then on their platform, remember, Android is Google's platform. They own Android. It's better for them, for all of Android, to get those benefits, because like I said, all these other third-party OEMs use Android. Google can't just say, oh, well, we optimized it only for our Pixel line of devices. Everybody else better figure it out. Like, imagine a world for a second, because this is the closest example I can kind of think of it, where Google said to, you know, to everybody else, hey, we got this awesome feature called Google Assistant. You know what? We optimized it for our Pixel line of devices. Everybody else, you better come up with your own assistant. How many people actually use Bixby Voice? I'm not saying Bixby Routines, Bixby Voice. How many use Bixby Voice? How many use whatever AI voice assistant is on Sony devices, or whatever AI assistant is on, you know, Motorola if they have one, or Xiaomi if they have one? Nobody uses those. Everybody uses the Google Assistant. So Google, like I said, they're in a different position than your third-party OEM like Samsung. And that's not a knock at Samsung stretching out apps, because, hey, for a long time, Google didn't do what they were supposed to do in terms of really pushing developers to optimize for Android tablets. They gave up on Android tablets, and this is kind of the end result. So trust me, I'm not giving Google a pass for giving up on Android tablets to begin with. Trust me, they're definitely feeling it, because we could have been farther ahead in terms of having application support for Android tablets and foldables if they would have just, you know, stuck to their guns, but they didn't. But either way, back to my point, Google is in a position where they can't just say, well, we fixed it for our devices, everybody else better figure it out. Like they can't do that. They got to make moves that's going to push the Android platform as a whole further. Samsung's not there. They don't maintain Android. They don't manufacture Android. All they need to do is make sure that Android looks and runs great on their devices only. And that's it. So that's why I said I'm fine with them stretching out applications, but Google, I'm gonna be honest, they're gonna have to take that harder road. And it is a harder road because people see this and see, oh, this is a, Google device, the little Google logo there. Oh, well, Google's the one who can't figure out software. So, they're in a position where they're gonna take a lot of flack. They're gonna take a lot of heat because they have to do this. Because if Google doesn't do this in order to get devs on board, making some of the changes in the Play Store, like ranking applications, or, in any of the things that they're doing to really push tablet and foldable apps forward, if Google doesn't do it, devs are definitely not getting on board. We've had 5 generations of Z Fold. 5 generations of Z Fold, and we're just now starting to see major players like X or Twitter or Instagram's coming out with a new layout. Heck, even TikTok, I'm pretty sure even TikTok here, if you're on their beta, I'm not signed in, obviously, but as you can see, TikTok, they even have an optimized layout app for the Pixel Fold. Things like this were not happening. It wasn't happening before Google came out with their tablet and their foldable. And it's not to say that, Google is the most important player when it comes to this, but if I'm a developer and I'm looking at potentially adding support for a new form factor or a new aspect ratio, if I don't even see the OEM who's in charge of the platform taking it serious, what incentive is there for me to take it serious? There is none. There isn't any. So this is all fine and well, but if Google does this, we're never going to get applications that actually take advantage of these displays. And I know some people are like, well, what extra advantages could we get? Why, thank you. I'm glad that you asked. Let me introduce Tachi Yomi, and I'll go ahead and make sure I have this set perfect. Okay, cool. So I do. Now, this is my favorite manga comic book reading app. I was reading some JJK, and this is a perfect example. Now, if I have the Z Fold in its normal aspect ratio, let me pull up the manga page here. I'm on a different page, but it's okay. It still illustrates the same point. Now, from a portrait perspective, obviously I could rotate the Pixel Fold and you get a little bit better of a presentation there, something similar to that. Now, with most apps being designed for slabs, obviously this is the most of what you would get. Now, Tachi Yomi is an app developer. You have to sideload the app or whatever, but they're an app developer who actually came in and was like, hey, if you're using a tablet, we want to give you some extra functionality. So this is what they did. If you're using a foldable or tablet, and I think it's even here if you're in portrait, they come out with this little extra feature called double pages. If I click that, as you can see, now look at that experience. This is far closer to what it would be like if you were really reading manga or a comic book or whatever, and it feels far more natural to use it like this than it would be with this big screen and you use it like that. Now, you can go the double page route in portrait mode, but let's be honest, can you really read that without tapping in to zoom in and doing all of that? No. Now, obviously, you can rotate the device and get that same layout that you have on the Pixel Fold, which is dope. I love this extra functionality from rotating the device. I'm fine with rotating devices. I don't know why all of a sudden we're not. But either way, like I said, we want app developers to do this. We want them to give you extra functionality when you have the extra screen space to take advantage of it. This just makes sense. I'll even give you another example of a dope app that I use called eBooks. This is another app. I'm reading a book called To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Paolini. He's the author of the Aragon series. Look at reading a book in this orientation. You're filling up that entire screen. Everything is super clear, legible. It really feels like you're reading a book. You even get the little page turn animation. Like this is how I want to digest my content, and then if I take it to the portrait mode, I'll open up the same app here. I'm not sure if my space, and then you get the full screen here and you still get the same cool animation, but you only get one page. And again, this isn't bad if you're on the go and want to maybe carry in that portrait orientation, but like I said, you got this bigger screen, you want to do more with it. If I rotate it in this orientation, you can see I get the same exact layout as what's on the Pixel Fold. This just makes sense. We should be encouraging Google to push these developers to get their applications where they need to be, not penalizing Google for taking the harder road that no one else is going to take. Because if Google doesn't push developers to do it, who is? And that's exactly my point. So like I said, I'm not saying all of this because it's the Pixel and I'm a Pixel fanboy or I'm biased. I'm trying to give praise where praise is due because it's far harder to take, you know, the route that Google's taken where, yeah, we have to put up with these kind of growing pains, but the end result ends up being significantly better for everyone who uses an Android device. Everyone. If Google can get Elon Musk and X to fix their app, the Z Fold is going to benefit from that, right? If we get an updated, say, Cash App where it's not just taking up, here, let me re-unlock that, but it's not just only using the middle of the screen, what? The Z Fold is going to also get the same layout. Like, we should be happy that someone is taking that extra step. I mean, I hate to be that guy, but it's almost like Google has the courage to take the harder road to really get devs to fix the issue once and for all, rather than constantly putting band-aids on the solution like, oh, well, we fixed it for our devices. Everybody else better figure it out. Like I said, it's not that I'm saying that this is a better look than what we have here. It's not. And I'll be the first to admit that. Like, this looks far better than this does. Even rotating this looks far better than this does, in my opinion. But this is some of the growing pains that we have to deal with while we're waiting for app developers to get their stuff together, man. So in the end, I don't want to, you know, draw this one out or make it too long or anything like that. I just wanted to give some education and just a different perspective than what I'm seeing a lot of. So again, not trying to say Samsung's wrong for stretching out apps, not trying to say, you know, anything like that, or the Pixel Fold is better or the Z Fold is better. To be honest, I could care less. Buy what you want to buy, use what you want to use, and keep it pushing. But for me, I want this problem fixed once and for all. I want devs to get their stuff together. And I didn't want to say stuff, but I want them to get their stuff together so we get better applications for tablets and foldables. This even extends over to iPad OS because Instagram still hasn't made an iPad OS app, and the iPad has far more tablet apps than anything in Android land. So like I said, this isn't even an Android issue. This is an issue with developers and applications. So the faster we get them all on board and getting these apps cranked out, the better experience we'll have on these foldable 2-in-1 devices, man. So like I said, guys, not going to draw this one out too long. Let me know in the comment section below, though. Have you, finally dove into like this foldable lifestyle, this 2-in-1 device lifestyle? If you have, what are some of your pain points? What are some of the things that you love? Let me know in the comment section below. But as always, this is Ike's Tech Talk. I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace.